The Grammar of Story, A.J. Greimas' Structuralism and his Model of Actants. Hello and welcome to the discourse. A.J. Greimas was a Lithuanian literary scientist, theorist, semiotician, and structural linguist who is known for his seminal work Structural Semantics, published in 1966, in which he proposed the model of actants. To truly understand why A.J. Greimas developed his model of actants, we need to talk about the big idea he was a part of. This big idea is called structuralism. Think of a scientist studying a forest. That scientist does not just look at one single unique tree. Instead, they study the whole ecosystem. They examine how all the trees, plants, and animals connect and work together. They search for the universal rules that make a forest function. Structuralism in literature is very similar. It is not about praising one amazing book or one author's beautiful writing. Instead, it is a method of study. Structuralists believe that to understand stories, we should not just look at them one by one. We should look for the universal structures, the hidden rules and patterns that all stories are built upon. They were less interested in what a story meant and more interested in how a story creates meaning in the first place. They wanted to find the grammar, the blueprint for storytelling itself. This is where A.J. Greimas comes in. He was a leading structuralist thinker. His great contribution was to apply this scientific, rule-finding approach to the world of narrative. His big question was, can we find a universal pattern that exists underneath every single story, from ancient myths to modern novels? His answer was yes. He believed that for all the millions of stories in the world, they might all share a very basic, common structure. He argued that deep down, stories are built using a set of roles which he called actants. The building blocks of stories, the Actantial Model. So what is an actant? An actant is not exactly the same as a character. A character is a person in a story with a personality, like a hero, a villain, or a sidekick. An actant is more about the function or the job that someone or something performs in the story's plot. It is the role they play in moving the action forward. Greimas said that there are 6 main actantial roles that appear in stories. Let's walk through them. First, we have the subject. This is our main character, the hero or the protagonist. This is the person who wants something. Their entire journey is about pursuing a goal. That goal is called the object. The object is the thing the subject desires. It can be a physical thing, like a treasure map or a magical sword. It can also be something you cannot touch, like freedom, love, or knowledge. The journey does not start by itself. Something or someone sets it into motion. This is the sender. The sender is the power that kicks off the quest. It might be a king who orders the hero on a mission. It could be a personal loss that motivates the hero. Sometimes it is an idea like a sense of justice. Who gets the benefit of this quest? That is the receiver. Often the subject and the receiver are the same person. The hero goes on a journey and gains the reward themselves. But not always. Sometimes the hero saves the kingdom and the receiver is all the people living in it. Now the path to the goal is never easy. The subject needs help, which comes from the helper. Helpers are the people, animals, or even lucky breaks that support the hero along the way. And of course, there are always obstacles. This is the role of the opponent. The opponent is the force that works against the subject, trying to stop them from getting the object. This is often the villain, but it could also be a rival, a harsh environment, or even a bad law. The beautiful part of the model is that these roles relate to each other. You can almost draw it as a map. The sender gives the mission, the object, to the subject, who then tries to get it to the receiver. On their path, the helper supports them and the opponent blocks them. This idea did not just come out of nowhere. Greimas was heavily inspired by an earlier scholar named Vladimir Propp. Propp studied hundreds of old Russian fairy tales. He noticed that even though the stories were different, the same types of characters kept showing up. Greimas looked at Propp's long list of character types and simplified it. He saw the deeper pattern. He took Propp's specific characters and turned them into abstract, universal roles, his 6 actants. So there is a lot of similarity between them because Greimas was building on Propp's work, creating a simpler model that could be applied to any story. Why does this matter? Because the Actantial model gives us a tool. It is like a pair of X-ray glasses for stories. You can use it to analyze a novel, a movie, a commercial, or even a political speech. By identifying the actants, you can quickly understand the core conflict, the desires, and the relationships that make the story tick. It shows us that for all their wonderful variety, stories might all be built from the very same basic parts. Examples explaining the Actantial model. Let's meet the 6 actants and see how they work together using examples from stories we know. The first actant is the subject. This is always the main character of the story. This is the person who wants something very badly. Their whole journey is about trying to get it. In the great American novel Moby-Dick, the subject is Captain Ahab. What does the subject want? They want the object. The object is the goal. It can be a thing you can touch, like a treasure, or something you feel, like love or revenge. For Captain Ahab, the object is revenge against the great white whale Moby-Dick. The whale itself is the symbol of his goal. A journey does not start all by itself. Something has to give the subject a reason to begin. This is the job of the sender. The sender is the power that sets the story in motion. Sometimes it is a person, like a king, sending a knight on a quest. Often it is something inside the subject. For Ahab, the sender is his own anger and pain from losing his leg to the whale. His wounded pride sends him on his mission. The next actant is the receiver. This is whoever gets the benefit of the quest. Very often, the subject and the receiver are the same person. The hero goes on the adventure and wins the reward for themselves. Captain Ahab is also the receiver. He is the one who wants to feel the satisfaction of revenge. Now, the path to a goal is never easy. The subject always needs aid. This comes from the helper. Helpers can be people like the loyal friend or a wise teacher. They can even be things like a magical sword or a lucky charm. In Moby-Dick, the helper is the entire crew of the ship, the Pequod. They are the ones who help Ahab sail the ocean and hunt the whale. But for every helper, there is always an opponent. This is the force that works against the subject. It tries to block them from getting the object. The opponent is usually the villain, but it can also be a storm, a difficult law, or even a character's own fears. The main opponent in Moby-Dick is clearly the whale, Moby-Dick. The whale is the powerful force of nature that fights back against Ahab. We can also see this model in a famous play, Romeo and Juliet. In that story, the subject is the couple themselves, Romeo and Juliet together. Their object is to be married and live happily, away from their family's fight. The sender is their own powerful love for each other. The receiver is also themselves, as they would be the ones to enjoy a life together. Their helpers are Friar Lawrence, who marries them, and the nurse, who carries their messages. Their opponent is not really each other, but the long-standing feud between their two families, the Montagus and Capulets. This feud is what keeps them apart. By using this model, we can X-ray any story. It helps us see past the exciting plot and the interesting characters to find the deep structure underneath. It shows us that stories from different times and places are all built using the same basic parts. This was the Greimas' great gift to us, a simple tool to understand the universal grammar of storytelling. So this is it for today. We will continue to discuss the history of literary theory and analysis. Please stay connected with the discourse. Thanks and regards.